this is my review of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Okay, so you remember when I said that when Shigechi finally got into a fight with another stand user, it wasn't going to end well? And you also remember when I said that they were eventually going to properly introduce Kira and introduce him into the story at some point? Both of those happened in this episode. So it actually follows. In this episode, we're actually properly introduced to the Mr. Kira. As it turns out, his full name is Yoshikage Kira, and he's 33. He lives alone, and basically he's the serial killer that's been killing people in Morio undetected for 15 years. So yeah, and it's actually revealed why he never doesn't stand out. So it starts off with him eating breakfast with his girlfriend and slipping a ring that he bought onto her severed hand. So he basically he buys his severed hand, or girlfriend as he puts it, gifts, and then just gives them to her. And also during the day while he's doing his day job, he actually works at Kamayu department store, which is and that's where we actually find out a bit more about his personal life, about how he works at Kamayu and his coworkers always ask him to do things, but he never does them. And he's very reluctant to actually hang out with other people for obvious reasons, but he basically just decides, I don't want to hang out with this person, so I'm just gonna go on my merry way and do my business. So basically, case in point, several of his female co-workers ask him to go hang out with them for lunch, and he just brushes them off and goes to buy lunch on his own. Playing it off as him going to go deliver some documents before they're due. So, at which point one of his other co-workers remarks that Yoshikage Kira never wants to do anything, and nothing about him remotely stands out. So, which is probably why he's been able to kill in Morio undetected for 15 years. He's not exactly a high-profile guy, so naturally the police aren't going to be looking for him. So yeah, but for that reason, no one's ever actually tried to find him. He's not a very remarkable guy, aside from being a serial killer, so nobody is really going to bat an eye when they see him on the street. By case, he goes to buy lunch, and he has his girlfriend pick a sandwich, which is very cocky of him, considering the fact that he's in a crowded store with several other people. He goes to St. Gentleman's to buy a sandwich, and he eventually decides on one. Although he accidentally rips the wrapper with his girlfriend and has to clean the sauce off of her, which is creepy. I'll put it lightly. He's licking sauce off of a severed hand. That's creepy as hell. So in any case, he puts the sandwich as well as his girlfriend into a St. Gentleman's bag when he leaves, and he goes to the park to eat his lunch with his girlfriend, remarking that it's almost like a picnic. But in any case, as he's eating his lunch, he suddenly starts to realize that the severed hand he's using as his girlfriend is starting to go a little bit ripe, and replacing her. Exactly around that time, Shigechi actually meets up with Okuyasu and Yoshikage, and they basically ask him for lunch money so they can go out and buy some lunch. And when they see that he has a St. Gentleman's bag, you kind of see where I'm going with this. They decide to go to St. Gentleman's, and at which point, Shigechi decides to mark down their information as an IOU in his planner, so that he knows that he lent money to Yoshikage and Okuyasu and that they need to pay him back. And as he's doing that, a dog that Kira scared off earlier, that dog that dog was actually trying to steal Kira's sandwich earlier, but he scared it off with one look, and it panicked and ran. That same dog actually successfully steals Shigechi's sandwich while he's writing down an IOU in his logbook, and realizing his sandwich is missing, he begins to start looking for it, and he eventually finds Kira's sandwich bag instead and takes that. Unfortunately, unfortunately for Shigechi, Kira had just stashed his now decaying girlfriend in the bag, and Yoshikage Kira is notably panicking because he realizes that if Shigechi opens that bag at any point, he's going to discover the severed hand inside of it, and proceeds to follow Shigechi through his daily routine in order to make sure that he gets the bag back safe and sound, so that Shigechi never discovers what's actually in it. And spoilers, it's not a sandwich. But in any case, he begins following Shigechi around, and in that time he begins to follow around Yoshikage and Okuyasu and helps them find St. Gentlemen so that they can actually go and buy a sandwich. But then they find out that the sandwiches are actually sold out and begin contemplating what else they could do for lunch. At which point Shigechi volunteers to help sneak them into the school gym storage closet, since he not only does he go there every day to eat lunch, but he also points out that since he's there, he basically has free reign to make as much coffee and tea as he wants. So he's basically allowed to just go in and do that. So Okuyasu and Yoshikage naturally are a little bit hesitant and decide to go back to their own school to eat lunch initially. Although Okuyasu isn't too happy about it, since they're going to be eating with Koichi, who is most likely going to be eating with Yukiko, and Okuyasu isn't exactly comfortable with eating with a happy couple, as he puts it. But in any case, they leave, and at which point Kira decides to make his move and try to take the sandwich away from take his sandwich bag away from Shigechi. But he accidentally bumps into Shigechi in the process, who quickly turns around and apologizes for running into him and goes on his merry way and goes back to school. And naturally Kira is panicking because as he points out, he's going to go back to school to eat lunch, which means that there's a very good chance he's going to expose all the kids at the school to his severed hand that's in his bag, and realizes he needs to get that quickly before that happens. So he follows Shigechi into the school gym closet, which is where Shigechi begins to open up his bag and make his lunch. But then as Shigechi is about to open the lunch bag, he realizes that he forgot to make his coffee and runs off to go make it. And at which point Kira decides that now is a good enough time as any to go steal the bag back. But as he's about to do that, Okuyasu and Yoshikage come in, having changed their minds about the fact that they actually do want tea and coffee. So they followed Shigechi back to his school and climb in through the window. And Kira is forced to hide under. I'm not entirely sure these what are they called? I'm not entirely sure what they're called, but they're used for gymnastics and stuff like that. But in any case, he climbs inside one of those. There's these little gymnastic stands, I think. And he hides inside while Okuyasu, Yoshikage, and Shigechi are in there discussing their drink preferences, basically. And he realizes that he needs to find a way to get out without being seen, since not only are the three boys in there with him, but and he also points out that he can't eliminate all three at once. But on top of that, Yoshikage is sitting on top of the stand that he's hiding in, so he can't get out that way. Eventually he spies a coat hanger on the floor and decides to unravel that and use that to try and pull the sandwich bag inside the gymnastics stand so he can get it back. Unfortunately, because Shigechi had tampered with the sticker earlier trying to open it, it causes the bag to fall off the hook and fall over, and the severed hand almost falls out. So Kira is notably panicking, and Yoshikage notices the fact that the bag fell over and reaches over to try and pick it up and inspect it. But at that exact moment, Shigechi shows up and basically yells at him for trying to steal a sandwich. He gets very defensive about the fact that Yoshikage is trying to manhandle a sandwich bag. He naturally gets upset, and Yoshikage decides to drop the issue and go back to eating his lunch. At which point Kira successfully snags the bag with hook and pulls it into the stand where he's hiding. So and I should mention the obvious not the stands, not the ones they use to fight. I probably should. I don't know. Fuck it. But in case he pulls it inside the gymnastics stand, at which point Shigechi finally realizes that his sandwich is gone, and naturally, since nobody knows that Kira is in the room with them, he naturally accuses the only other two people in the room that he knows of, Yoshikage and Okuyasu, of stealing his sandwich. And while they obviously adamantly deny it, Shigechi decides to see if that's actually true and uses Harvest to seek out his sandwich so he could actually find it. But as he's about to find Yoshikage Kira with his stand, the gym teacher actually comes in and the three boys panic and climb out the window. At which point the gym teacher realizes that he needs to lock the window, since he realized it was a little unusual that his coffee was running out that quickly. So he locks the window and leaves. At which point Kira walks out once he's gone and proceeds to go on his merry way. And is proud of the fact that he was able to get his sandwich back without sandwich bag back without any sort of casualties or problems, and that he didn't need to fight anybody. And he's a bit proud that he's a bit proud of the fact that he didn't need to kill anybody, remarks that he may indeed be protected by fate, and wonders if it's luck that he was actually able to get his sandwich bag back. But and decides that regardless of which is true, he actually does need to be more careful in the future. Unfortunately, at that exact moment, Shigechi notices that Kira has actually snagged his sandwich bag, and while Kira denies that it's actually Shigechi's bag, pointing out that he bought it from St. Gentleman's, which is technically true, Shigechi knows for several reasons that couldn't be the case, and he knows that it's his sandwich bag. At which point he summons his stand and tries to summon his stand and take the sandwich bag back. And unfortunately for Shigechi, the bag rips. So the severed hand is just falls out of the bag and lands right in the middle of the two. And while Shigechi is kind of reeling over the fact that there's a severed hand in Kira's bag, Kira just kind of tries to recover it and tries to calmly recover it without any sort of issues, and hopes that Shigechi will just leave him alone. But Shigechi obviously isn't going to let it go, since he knows that something is now up with Kira, and tries to keep him at bay with Harvest. Unfortunately, Yoshikage Kira isn't fazed in the slightest, and because he's a serial killer, and he kind of just murders people for fun regardless. But he basically properly introduces himself and goes through a step-by-step instruction on his daily routine, putting much emphasis on the fact that he's the kind of guy who just wants to live a peaceful life, and that he's going to eliminate Shigechi now so that he doesn't interrupt that peaceful life, and then at that point summons his stand, a stand called Killer Queen, and claims that he's going to eliminate Shigechi now. So yeah, it's in this episode it's revealed that Yoshikage Kira is indeed a stand user, which might partially explain why there has never been any evidence. It's possibly a power of his stand, which we're probably going to see in the second half of this arc. But basically Shigechi bites off more than he can chew, kind of sort of, because he accidentally pissed off Yoshikage Kira, who just so happened to have a St. Gentleman, just because they happen to have both bought a sandwich from St. Gentleman's, and through circumstance, Yoshikage Kira loses his sandwich bag because Shigechi steals it, which is what causes the confrontation between the two in the first place. So basically Shigechi's screwed. He's facing a serial killer. That's not going to end well for him. That he's facing a serial killer, and with a stand whose power we don't know yet. And obviously we know Shigechi's stand isn't the most powerful stand in the world. I mean, yes, it has it's a colony stand, and it has up and upwards of 500 units to it. But on top of that, but other than that, it's not particularly powerful, physically powerful. It just makes up for its lack of power with sheer numbers. And so, whereas Yoshikage Kira seems to have a stand that's much more suited for fighting. So, I think we're gonna see. I think Shigechi might be in trouble here. I'm just saying that. I think Shigechi might be in trouble here, and that's going to come. And Shigechi may quickly realize that he bit off more than he can chew. So, that's my real JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. What did you guys think? Let's get a discussion going in the comment section down below, or over on my Discord server, link in the description. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, be sure to follow me on Facebook and on Twitter in the description below. And if you want to help support the show, then be sure to check out my Patreon. It's in the description below as well. It's only a couple bucks a month, and it really helps me out, so I would definitely recommend checking that out. But in any case, thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, I will see you guys in the next video. Peace!